Welcome to the October 12th, 2021 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We're glad you're with us today, and we will start as we always do with an invocation provided this morning by Father Rich Martindale of St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Father, would you please stand?
Let us pray. Almighty God and Father, giver of all good gifts, source of all wisdom and lover of all souls, we give you thanks for the wonder of this day and for the delights and opportunities that will follow the storm and for those that are in it. We thank you, too, for raising up among us servants of this community who place the safety and care of their neighbors above their own desires and ambitions, and who work to bring justice with mercy to our dealings with one another. Bless these who take counsel this day. Give them, we pray, your spirit to discern your will for the governance of our common life, and the will and the courage to accomplish it, to your glory and the welfare of the people of our community. We ask all this for the sake of the love that you have ever shown us, and in your own most holy name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rich. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Southard.
Here.
Magistrate Moran.
Here.
Magistrate Putman.
Here.
Magistrate Berry.
Here.
Magistrate McCollum is absent.
Okay, it's a momentous day in that we are once again recognizing our Judges Scholars. And as you all know, it's been more than a year and a half since we've been able to do that because of COVID. But we are back on track, and we have with us today Mr. Henry Davis from Chandler Elementary. And Henry, if you would please meet me up right in front of the podium. We're going to read a proclamation in your honor for being Judges Scholars.
Whereas Henry Davis has been chosen by A.B. Chandler Elementary School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Award due to his exceptional efforts in both academics and school activities. And whereas Henry's hard work and dedication in making the most of educational experience and developing positive relationships with teachers and other students will lead to future success. And whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement. And whereas the Henderson County school system could not let Henry's efforts go unnoticed, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these changes as being significant because students, such as Henry Davis, will be our future leaders. And now therefore I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim today, October 12, 2021, as Henry Davis Day in Henderson County.
Pull the mask down a little bit.
Yeah, full
Let us see
master.
who you are.
Yay.
That's a smile.
Wonderful. Thank you.
We're going to put you in that seat of honor right there, the throne. King Henry. You hang with us and watch the sausage today. congratulations and congratulations to your family and the school. So, Henry, hang in there. Next, we have a bid recommendation on the single axle dump truck. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, proclamation, Kentucky Homemakers Week, I'm sorry. We're going to read a proclamation in honor of Kentucky Extension Homemakers Week. Miss Marilyn Wilson is with us, and lead. And if you want to come forward, let us read this proclamation, and then you can fill us in on all the great things happening with the homemakers.
Okay.
The Kentucky Extension Homemakers Association Incorporated has more than 10,754 members in more than 800 clubs throughout the Commonwealth. And whereas the Henderson County chapter has recorded over 6,000 volunteer hours between July 2020 and July 2021. And whereas since its formation in 1932, the Kentucky Extension Homemakers Association has strengthened individuals, families, and communities through education, leadership development, and community volunteer service, and has focused on the improvement of the quality of life for families and communities. And whereas this organization over the years has continued to endeavor to strengthen, develop, coordinate, and extend adult education in family and consumer sciences in cooperation with the Cooperative Extension Service of the United States Department of Agriculture and the University of Kentucky. Now therefore, I, Brad Schneider, by virtue of the authority vested in me as County Judge Executive of the County of Henderson, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim the week of October 10th through October 16th as Kentucky Extension Homemakers Week in Henderson County, and I encourage all our citizens to participate in extension homemaker activities.
There you go. And if you want to give us a little update on everything you do.
Okay. As when I did about the volunteer hours, when I first had done that I came across in our state report that we had for community hours service the top group in the state of Kentucky, and that was a group called the Happy Knitters. And it's amazing what COVID has done to us, and I know it has everyone else has done our membership, but they had volunteer hours of like 14,000. And I thought that was really exceptional for one group of ladies through all their community. And when you look at that on the dollar-wise of what they've saved the county or anybody else with it, if you do it by $2 an hour, some people say it's close to $3 an hour. That's a lot of work that's done, especially for Kentucky's. But I'd also like to tell you that we do it through 7 educational. With ours, we do cultural arts, we do environmental energy, get it out, and 4-H, we do food and nutrition, we do family individual development, we do international, and we also do leadership training. And we've just started a leadership academy, and it's been going really well. We've only got 1 year underneath of our belt, and we hope to do it again. With me, I have Henderson County can boast that we have the state president, and that is Karen Hill. And she is here today, and our agent is Amanda Hardy, and we couldn't do anything without Amanda and Rondine. So I really appreciate, and we gave you a small token and for all that you do for our county, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for all you do, Karen, Amanda. We're lucky to have you in our community. In your package, you have the minutes of the September 27th special call meeting and September 28th regular meeting. Period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve both those sets of minutes.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, corrections, clarifications? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we'll bring Mr. Hugh back up with his recommendation for the single axle dump truck.
The judge, I gave everybody a handout in their box, should have one, and we opened the bids a couple weeks ago. After reviewing the bids, it would be the Henderson County Road Department's recommendation that we purchase the Mack Granite 42 FR unit. This will go along with standardization of our fleet. We already have 2 of these type units, and through extended research, of other units, we feel that this is the better option for the county for longevity of the piece of equipment.
Is that the major determining factor, even though there's a difference in price?
Yeah, the big thing is standardization, plus the fact that the other type unit that we looked at, I have viewed some of these, and they are not of the same quality of construction,
Any
even
other
though they are
questions, Bill?
significantly cheaper.
Bill, delivery on this one's next year.
Yeah, we will not receive this unit until the 22-23 budget. Both units that were bid were within either fourth quarter of 2022 or first quarter of 2023.
Wow.
So,
On the Freightliner, I see they had an extended warranty.
yeah,
Can you get the extended warranty on the?
it
on
comes
Mac?
with the standard one. It just covers towing for up to the first year.
That's why it's only $200.
That's correct.
And this pricing will be locked in even though we're getting it basically a year from now?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions of Bill? Well, you've heard his recommendation. Entertain a motion to move forward with that purchase.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. I'm next on the agenda again with the recommendations from the Surface Mine Committee that we had this morning. We had some bond reductions that were requested due to Phase 3 bond release that was approved by the state. And so I'm going to go through these. I'll just make the recommendation. I'll read them off on each of them, and we can do them as one. So I'll start off with a 100% bond released on permit HC 8510051 increment 10, 100% bond release on permit HC 8510052 increment 14, 100% bond release on permit number HC 8510054 increment 9. And then we have a 50% bond release on HC 8510057 for increments 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7.
Was that last bond the one we were discussing, and you were discussing in Surface Mine Committee?
Yes, these are the Surface Mine Committee ones that were approved this morning.
How much is the last one for?
50%. Those last ones were 50%.
I walked out of the room. Was that last bond the one we were mulling over, whether we would shift it to the new company?
This is irrelevant to who owns the bonds.
Gotcha, okay. So, any other questions of Bill on that? That's the recommendation of the Surface Mine Committee. It was a good meeting, a lot of back and forth. There are a couple of questions outstanding on some other bonds and some other projects. You'll be hearing more about that, or you can certainly talk to Mr. Hubiak about it. But if I clarify this a little bit, the bonds that you just mentioned are relatively small bonds. And
Correct.
the work that they were intended to guarantee has been done.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, discussion?
So everything that they were the reason why they were bonded has been completed, the work has been completed?
Yeah, on the 100% bond release, those works have been totally completed and have already been released by the state. Okay?
So does
And
the
the other ones on the HC 8510057, those have been first phase release, so we're only releasing 50% of the bond. They've already been phase 1 released by the state.
Which means part of the
Right. So we're
reclamation's
still
been done.
retaining 50% until final reclamation is done.
So the state inspects it, you don't?
I do too.
You do too?
Yeah, we were
Okay.
there, yeah.
Any other discussion? We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Monday, for your help today. Okay, we completed our review of ordinances, and I really appreciate the court's work on that. We're beginning to make the changes recommended. We have a second reading today of Chapter 35, and then first readings of some other ordinances that we tweaked a little bit. And so with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Clerk to have the second reading of Ordinance Chapter 35.
If it's the court's pleasure, could we just read the subject sentence of the ordinance?
I have no objection to that.
Yep. Sounds good.
Mr. Weeson, thanks you very much for that.
Ordinance amending Section 35 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances with regard to fiscal court.
And that was that. Any other questions? This is second reading, obviously, so we read it before.
I moved to.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on, Chapter 112.
Ordinance amending Section 112 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances, ordinances with regard to curfew for minors. Whereas the fiscal court held a special meeting on August 16, 2021 to review its ordinances and determine necessary changes, and whereas during said meeting, this fiscal court discussed changes to Chapter 112 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances regarding curfews, and whereas the fiscal court has determined it necessary to amend Chapter 112 to update the regulation regarding curfew for minors to provide harmony between the ordinances of the City of Henderson and Henderson County. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the fiscal court of the County of Henderson of the Commonwealth of Kentucky as follows. Number 1, Chapter 112 is hereby repealed in its entirety and shall be replaced as follows. Section A, Section 112-1, definitions. For the purpose of this article, the following definitions shall apply unless the context clearly indicates or requires a different meaning. 1, a minor, any person under the age of 18, or as otherwise phased, any person under the age of 17, any person of the age 17 or under. A parent, any person having legal custody of a minor, A, as a natural adoptive parent, as a legal guardian, or as a person who stands in local parentis, or a person exercising custodial control. That is a term that is defined in the Kentucky Unified Juvenile Code, or as a person whom legal custody has been given to by order of court. 3, remain, to stay behind, to tarry, to linger upon, or in any public place. 4, to allow, either permit or neglect to prevent. It requires actual constructive knowledge of the part of the parent or guardian. That is, the parent or guardian must actually know about the minor violating this article, or the circumstances must be such that reasonably prudent parent or guardian should have known that the minor was violating this article. 5, emergency means unforeseen combination of circumstances or the resulting state that calls for immediate action. This term includes, is not limited to, a fire, a natural disaster, or an automobile accident, or any situation requiring immediate action to prevent seriously bodily injury or loss of life. 6, public place means any place which public or substantial group of the public has access to and includes, but is not limited to, streets, highways, alleyways, and the common areas of schools, hospitals, apartment buildings, office buildings, transport facilities, shops, stores, restaurants, and other similar commercial establishments. Section B, Section 112-2, the hours of curfew exceptions. It shall be unlawful for any person under the age of 18 to remain in or upon any public place in the city between the hours of 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. during any day of the week. 2, it shall be unlawful for any parent or guardian having legal custody of a minor to allow such minor to remain in or upon public place in the city under circumstances not constituting an exception as enumerated in Section 3 during time periods contained in subsection 1 above. 3, in the following exceptional cases, a minor in or upon a public place in the county during the nocturnal hours provided for in subsection 1 shall not be considered in violation of this article if shall not be considered in violation of this article, A, when minor is accompanied by his or parent or guardian, B, when accompanied by an adult authorized by a parent or guardian of such minor, C, when exercising First Amendment rights protected by the United States Constitution, such as free exercise of religion, freedom of speech, and the right to assembly. D, when this in the case of reasonable necessity, but only after such minor's parents or guardian has communicated to the police the facts established in such reasonable necessity. E, when the minor is on the sidewalk of the place where the minor resides or on the sidewalk of the minor's next-door neighbor who has not communicated an objection to a police officer or the police department. F, when attending an official school, religious, or other recreational activity supervised by adults or sponsored by the city, a civic organization, or other similar entity that takes responsibility for the minor or is going to or returning home from, without any detour or stop, an official school, religious, or recreational activity supervised by adults and sponsored by the city, a civic organization, or other similar entity that takes responsibility for the minor. G, when authorized by regulation issued by the city manager in cases of reasonable necessity involving more minors that may reasonably be dealt with on an individual basis. Such regulation should be issued sufficiently in advance to permit publicity through news media and through other agencies such as schools. The regulations shall define the activity, the scope of the use of the public place permitted, and the period of time involved, not to exceed more than 1 hour beyond the time for termination of the activity. And the reason for finding that such regulation is reasonably necessary. The city manager shall notify the police department of said information. When engaged in a business or occupation which the laws of Kentucky authorize a person under 18 years of age to perform, when the minor with parental consent is in a motor vehicle with a lawfully authorized driver, when the minor who is duly authorized and licensed driver is operating a motor vehicle within the city for the purpose of passing through and by direct route from one location to another within or out of the city, including all minors that may be also within the vehicle, when involved in an emergency, when the minor is a married person, Section C, Section 112-3, the citation of the penalty. Excuse me. Excuse me, sir. Okay. I'm dried out.
This is a bit of a novel, so hang in there with us.
And while, just to clarify, Mr. Wiesen and I spoke last week, and I said one of those ordinances has a typo in it, and it's this, where we say city, the version that Mr. Wiesen should have had sent to him, it would say county where it says city, and county judge executive where it says city manager, and sheriff's department where it says police department, and that I'm emailing that to Mr. Wiesen right now.
So we'll read this and take a
Yes.
motion to the effect that the changes suggested by the county
Yes.
attorney be made. So we can continue?
Yes.
Okay.
Citation penalty, a law enforcement officer upon finding or being notified of any minor in or upon public places who a parent or guardian is believed to be in violation of this article may stop and question such minor and request such information as his or her name and age and the name and address of his or her parent, guardian, or person having legal custody. If the law enforcement officer determines that or has reasonable causes to believe that a curfew violation has occurred, the police officer may obtain from the minor the information necessary to issue the citation to the minor's parents, guardian, or a person having legal custody, and then either take the minor to his or her home or direct the minor to proceed immediately to his or her home. The penalty, any parent, guardian, or person having legal custody who shall allow such minor to violate Section 112-2 shall be guilty of violation and be subject to a fine up to $50 for the first offense, up to $100 for the second offense, and up to $250 for all subsequent offenses. All or parts of ordinances in conflict herein are repealed to the extent of such conflict. This ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage and advertising according to law.
Is right.
Yay.
Judge, I make a motion that we approve the ordinance with the changes that Mr. Gold spoke to a moment ago.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to that effect. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Clerk, would you like me to read the next one?
This is a short one. Come on.
Okay.
It's okay. The one after this one's 56 pages, so.
Oh, my God.
But it has a very specific
Yes.
introductory part,
Yeah.
which should
Yeah.
suffice, hopefully.
Yeah. Ordinance amending Section 122 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances with regards to drugs and drug products. Whereas the fiscal court had a special meeting on August 16, 2021 to review its ordinances and determine necessary changes. Whereas during said special, I can't do it.
During said special meeting, the fiscal
you.
court discussed changes to Chapter 122 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances regarding drugs and drug products, and whereas the fiscal court has determined that Chapter 122 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances with regard to drugs and drug products can be repealed because state law now adequately regulates these substances. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the fiscal court of the County of Henderson of the Commonwealth of Kentucky as follows. Number 1, Chapter 122 regarding drugs and drug products is hereby repealed in its entirety. Number 2, all parts of ordinances in conflict herein are repealed to the extent of such conflict. Number 3, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon passage and advertisement according to law.
Thank you.
Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And next.
As Mr. Gold asked, court permission just to read the title of this.
Do you want to do Parks and Recreation first?
Oh, I missed that one, sorry.
Okay. Now, that's a switch. Normally, he's the one reminding me that I've skipped over something, so mark it down in the minutes.
Kurt, I can read this one too if you'd like. Need to get a drink or something?
Yeah, if you would, please.
Ordinance amending Section 182 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances with regard to repeal of Parks and Recreation Board, whereas the fiscal court held a special meeting on September 13, 2021 to review its ordinances and determine necessary changes, and whereas during said special meeting, the fiscal court discussed changes to Chapter 182 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances regarding the lack of necessity of the Parks and Recreation Board, and whereas the fiscal court has determined it necessary to amend Chapter 182 to repeal the Parks and Recreation Board. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the fiscal court of the County of Henderson of the Commonwealth of Kentucky as follows. Number 1, Chapter 182, Article 2 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances is hereby repealed in its entirety. Sections 182-1 and 182-2 shall remain in force and are unaffected by this ordinance. Number 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herein are repealed to the extent of such conflict. Number 3, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon passage and advertisement according to law.
Yay.
Motion to that effect.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And now, the sewers ordinance, and we're just going to be able to read a summary here. Otherwise, it's going to be 52 pages. So everybody in agreement that the summary will suffice?
Wait.
Sounds good.
We love summaries.
Unless we want to be here all day. Ordinance amending Section 205 of the Henderson County Code of Ordinances with regard to sewers, including installation of water meters, prohibitions of cross connections, installation of backflow preventer devices, requiring new premises to provide connection where sewer is available, requiring check valves for private sewers, connecting with system, establishing charges and deposits, establishing charges outside the city limits, establishing penalties, creating sewer use regulations that regulate the use of public sewers, establish industrial or construction activity discharges, providing for the monitoring of discharges, regulating private wastewater disposal and building sewers and connections to sanitary sewers, establishing pollutant discharge limits, providing for the pretreatment program administrator, including fees and powers and authority of inspectors, providing for enforcement penalties and adopting enforcement response plans, providing for the declaration of water supply shortage and rationing in an emergency situation.
Get a motion to approve that.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And one bit of news as we continue through these. Mr. Gold sent me some KRS language that basically duplicates our local ordinance language when it comes to metal and precious metal businesses.
Well, actually, the scrap part.
Scrap.
What we wanted to do, or what the court was talking about, was adding scrap metal into our precious metals ordinance. And what we found was that there was a scrap metal statute within the Kentucky Revised Statute that already deals with that.
So if everybody is in agreement, when we consider that ordinance, it looks like when it comes to scrap metals, we're already covered. So I know Mr. Gold, I think we did make a couple tweaks on the rest of it, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't believe within the precious metals part, but I'll go back and check my
Okay.
notes. I don't think there were any other changes other than adding the scrap
Okay.
into that.
So when that comes back, just a heads up that it won't include that language because it's already there in KRS. So just want to point that out.
And for anybody interested, I believe that is KRS 433.890 to 896.
Did you get that, Tim? Did you write that down?
No.
Okay. If you do have questions, please contact Steve and he can walk you through.
It's exciting stuff.
Okay, next we're going to call Sheriff Crafton up. You might remember him briefing us last meeting on the need for vehicles and the challenge in finding vehicles on state contract and the need to maybe bid this out, and you went ahead and did that. And
Yeah.
results, if you want to open up the bids.
I have one bid that we've received. From Don Franklin, CDJR, in Somerset, Kentucky. And it's a bid for 3 2021 Dodge Durangos, all-wheel drive, for $34,209 each, which is what we anticipated.
Do you want to take that back and review it any, or are you prepared to make a recommendation to
I'm
court?
prepared to recommend that we accept the bid
And do you know when delivery date can be?
immediately.
Okay. Which is good. Any questions about this? It seems like the price to me is probably not a whole lot different than state contract would have been.
$278 more than last year's state contract.
Okay, well, that's good.
I've been driving down 41A quite a bit, and I've noticed several of our cruisers sitting at Ron's Automotive.
Yes.
Are all those ones we're replacing?
Those are, have engine problems, and they're in the process of either replacing the engine or repairing. There's 2 different ones there. One's being repaired, one's having the engine replaced. And it's just taking them a good bit of time to get that done. So,
I think that auto repair establishments are experiencing the same supply chain challenges for parts that many businesses are, so that can be a challenge.
yeah.
Okay, we have a recommendation from the Sheriff's Office to approve the purchase of these 3 vehicles. Any other questions? A motion to approve?
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good luck.
Thank you.
Anyway, we also have the Sheriff's report. Anything you want to add to the Sheriff's report in their packets?
No.
Motion to approve the Sheriff's report, if nobody has any questions about that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the Sheriff's report. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Gold, your report.
Judge, I've got several checks today. First is state reimbursement for salaries, FICA, and retirement, $2,402.50 and $6,777.19. Dental and life insurance, $13.89, $368.80. $4.22 and $12.60. And yes, believe it or not, we have to issue separate checks for each of those. Health insurance, $5,621. Aflac, $92.18. Flow through from the city, $458.33. Jail fees collected in the amount of $241.50, $108.75, and $135, bringing today's total to $16,237.98, and the fiscal year total to date to $94,581.94.
Does Henry want to come up and deliver that?
Henry, have you ever held $16,237.98? You want to for a couple seconds? Normally, the judge's scholar sits here, and I can just pass it. So why don't you stand right here? And can you give that to the judge? It's checks there, see, about $16,000.
Thank you, Henry. I'm glad you weren't intercepted between the county attorney and I.
I move to
But
approve.
there is a sheriff in the room, so I was confident you'd get here.
I move to accept, Judge.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Gold, I'm going to call Treasurer Ryder up. We have a budget amendment for one of the reasons I love budget amendments is that we have unexpected revenue that we have to amend into the budget. I'll let Ms. Ryder expand on that.
This is the reading of Budget Amendment 1 for this fiscal year. The total amount of this budget amendment is $525,790, amending into the current year budget unexpected receipts from the road fund with corresponding expenditures. The revenue for this, $60,000 from the transportation cabinet, which reflects 50% of the approved amount for the Cooper Road Bridge. $15,790 was received over the budget amount for the truck license distribution. $450,000 was transferred from the general fund after the ARPA funds lost revenue calculation was done for fiscal year or for calendar year 2020. The corresponding expenditure for that is $60,000 to road construction, $465,790 to resurfacing blacktop.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions to Ms. Ryder? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And now you can carry on with claims?
Transfers.
I'm sorry.
Okay. The transfers are as presented, and these are redistributing appropriations within the existing budget, and they do remain in the individual departments.
Everybody should have a copy of the transfers there. Any questions about those?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now claims. Sorry.
Now claims. From the general fund to Sheriff Crafton in the amount of $1,093.24. This is for calendar year 2021 training incentive and is to be paid with the October 14, 2021 payroll, and is from the Sheriff Training Incentive Appropriation line. To Brenda Duncan Ryder in the amount of $4,372.96. This is for the calendar year 2021 training incentive and is to be paid with the October 14, 2021 payroll, and it's from the Treasurer Training Incentive Appropriation line. To Paula Wilson in the amount of $4,372.96. This is for calendar year 2021 training incentive to be paid with the October 14th, 2021 payroll, and is from the Treasurer Training Incentive Appropriation line. To Visa in the amount of $727.50. This is the majority of this is coming from the judge's travel and meeting appropriation line. From the jail fund to Advanced Document Solutions, $1,386.35. This is for the copier lease and is to come from the data processing equipment appropriation line. Also from the jail fund to U.S. Bank, which is the credit card, $856.50. The majority of this is for office supplies and training and travel, and is to come from these appropriation lines. This is all the claims.
I move to pay the claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Ryder.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Let me ask one quick, on this document that we need on the audit, who do we give that back to?
Oh, either or.
Okay. Thank you.
In old business, anybody from, Mr. Farmer, anything to update from the coroner's office on old business?
No, I got something from the FOP, and they're doing good.
Okay. Anything old business? Any of the magistrates on any old business?
I just,
Can you,
Just let everybody know that all the surplus equipment is now up on Gov Deals, and you can see, the only thing we have a bid on right now is the van, but we just started it yesterday, so. The van looks like it's getting a lot of bids, so
all the way up to $565.
that's about all it's worth. It's got good tires.
Any other old business?
Judge, in view of the bidding process and delivery time of equipment right now that we're foreseeing, I would like to ask permission from Fiscal Court to go out for a bid on a new roll-off truck for our recycle department. Because if we looking at replacing our 2006 model that we currently have, we wouldn't expect delivery until the third or fourth quarter of 2023. Okay, and so I think it's, if not, if we wait and try to do this in next year's budget timeframe, you'd be pushing it out into the next year or two even further. Now, this is just going out for the bid right now, and we'll discuss with you and the Fiscal Court of how we are looking at to proceed with the purchase of this, because the mechanism on the roll-off truck will be funded by the Solid Waste Department of the state of Kentucky. And so there's several things and issues, plus there would be a residual trade-in value of our 2006 model also. But I'd like permission to go out for the bid so we can see what we're looking at and have the information we need.
Entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Motion is second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Now for good of the county, Coroner Farmer, if you'd like to come up and brief us.
Thank you, Judge. I'm here this morning not as the Henderson County Coroner, but as the State Trustee of the Henderson Lodge Number 9 Fraternal Order of Police. Due to the pandemic and everything that's been going on, our normal annual memorial service been kind of disrupted. We had it yesterday up here in the courtroom with thanks of the judge and the clerk, and had a real nice turnout from the law enforcement officers from the city and the county. We had a talk from Sheriff David Crafton, and also from our keynote speaker was County Attorney Steve Gold, and we appreciate them coming and talking for us. And we just want to get across to everybody about what the law enforcement officers mean to the community and all, and us honoring all of the members that have passed in this past year, whether it was due to violence or the COVID-19. We've lost quite a few officers across the country to that. But I just wanted to come before you all and thank you all for the support that you all have been giving the Sheriff's Department and everything, and also the City Commission, how they've been supporting the City Police Department. And we appreciate all the support for all law enforcement in the community, to make this a better place. And I just want to thank you all for that.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate that. Kenny Garrett, anything for good of the county from EMA? No, sir. Okay. With that, we'll go around the horn here. Astrid Southard.
First off, I'd like to congratulate you, Henry. It's something when they pick you out of your whole school to represent it. And then today's your day now, so that's a good thing. And our blacktop's going down. Be patient. We're working on the roadsides and trying to get it pulled back up and fixed. We'll get there. It's just remember we're driving on new blacktop. That's a good thing. So, other than that, all's good in District 3.
Thank you, and everything going okay with Harvest? I know had a question yesterday about State Road 136
Yes,
from Mr. Eblin. I know that's always a challenge. I think he's reached out to District 2 office in Madisonville to try to get some help, but like a lot of state agencies, but especially Transportation Cabinet, they are working with reduced funding, or at least stagnant funding. So
We've actually talked with Robbie Mills and Jonathan Dixon, and they're trying to help us too. So hopefully we can get something done. That road is terrible.
yeah, and they've not made it a high priority, but especially at planting season and harvest season, it really
Right.
rears its ugly head. So thank you, and keep us abreast of whenever progress is made there.
I will.
Master Moran?
Mine is a ditto exactly of what he just said. Congratulations, Henry. We're so proud of you and so glad that you are here with us today. And the same thing about the blacktop. We've had many calls about the sides, and it's like I said, we're driving on new blacktop. It's wonderful, and the other work will get done. So, and all's well in District 2.
And welcome back.
Thank
Glad
you
to have
so
you
much.
back.
Glad to be here.
Master Putman?
Thank you, Judge. Again, Henry, thank you for even being here today. I know it's a challenge to get to come to this event. As Magistrate Southern said, to be selected out of the whole school, pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. You're an exceptional young man. And let me just congratulate the parents as well. So I know they got a lot of input and help you along the way. But anyway, congratulations. And Judge, I think I'm good. Everything's good and forth.
Thank you. Master McCullum?
Henry, once again, thank you, and thank you for being here, and congratulations. We're proud of you. All is good in the fifth, and I'm glad the blacktop is working, and I think we've made some major strides in trying to fix some things on those roads that needed repair, and I'm glad people have been patient with us.
Master Berry?
I go last, so I don't, they've already said everything, Henry. I don't know what to say. No, congratulations and to the parents too as well. I know you've been working hard. You wouldn't be here if you wasn't, so keep it up. You're doing good. And Blacktop, Bill, to get those shoulders fixed. If not, I know a couple that I'm going to have to go do with my own tractor, so be sure you get that dirt back up there, okay? We've had I know. I thought about using it for that. But no, everything's good. Blacktop's good. Thanks, Charlie and Butch, for your blacktop. We can use more. But, I think we're all good in the first, Judge. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gold?
Well, Henry, again, congratulations. We talked before the meeting about sometimes a lot of what we do here fits in the category of boring but important. And I think you see what I was talking about now when we had like 50-something pages of sewer ordinances and things like that. But it is important what happens. And it's also important to recognize the great young people that we have in Henderson and the future leaders of Henderson. So I'm glad that you were here and here to see it, and I hope that you see yourself in a leadership role in some way in Henderson in your future, because I know that you have that ability and can do that. Mr. Farmer talked about the FOP memorial last night, and it was really great. And it is always an appropriate time to stop and think about the sacrifice that could happen at any time that anybody who puts on a uniform does for us. Sheriff Crafton pointed out that I believe there are 349 line of duty deaths just this year, and that already eclipses last year's amount, and we've still got months left to go in the year. And last year was the highest number of line of duty deaths. I looked at it, I believe it was since around 1930 or something like that, wasn't it, Sheriff Crafton? And that's not just COVID, but COVID was a big part of it. I believe over half were COVID, because when the rest of us could social distance and could work from home and things like that, law enforcement and corrections officers didn't have the opportunity to do that because crime kept happening and public safety issues kept happening. People needed welfare checks. People had mental health issues they needed to be checked on and things like that. Law enforcement didn't have the ability to do that remotely, so they had to put themselves in that harm's way in order to deal with folks. And we call them heroes because that's exactly what they are, and we need to honor everybody who puts on that uniform. We're commanded to the greatest commandment is to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, and that's nothing is a truer application of that than putting your life on the line to make sure that your friends and neighbors and sometimes complete strangers are safe and secure. So just I think it was a good event to honor them, and Sheriff Crafton, please pass on the fiscal court's support to all of them. Other than that, things are good in the county attorney's office, Judge.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Goldman. Appreciate it. It was our pleasure to help provide an alternate site when the rain hit yesterday for that memorial. So wonderful. I'm glad they were able to take advantage of it. Henry, congratulations. Again, we feel good about restarting the Judges Scholar Program and honoring our best and brightest, which you are among. And you get the pleasure of accompanying Master Southard to lunch, a rare treat, trust me. And
Two desserts.
as we often like to say, order all the desserts you want. And but again, congratulations. Keep up the good work. And maybe one day we'll see you sitting in one of these chairs up here if you really want to deal with all the exciting stuff that we talked about today. Remember, this is fiscal court, so the reason you heard a lot of talk about money is because that's our main goal here. Our main responsibility is watching the taxpayers' money and also making sure that our ordinances and other regulations are fair and updated. So that was what today's meeting was primarily about. And so you saw the heart of it. As unexciting as that can be, it is important. And glad you were with us today. Blacktop, I really urge the public's patience as we get this done. Thanks in large part to the arm twisting of Master Southard. We're spending more money on blacktop this year than we have in recent history, I think. But it takes time to lay all that down, and I've had several discussions with people from the community who voiced various concerns or opinions, and the only thing I can say is patience. When we work with asphalt companies, they are also in the process of helping counties all over western Kentucky and other places, because this is the time of year when asphalt is put down. So we can't lock in those companies for 2 weeks in a row, for example, to try to do all of our roads at once. We have to work with them on schedules, and that's impacted by weather. But I'm confident, Mr. Hubiak, that by the end of the month, we will have probably laid down all the blacktop we were going to lay down, and hopefully got back to pushing those shoulders back up and make all the.
Doing that, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
Awesome.
We got both great alls doing that this week.
Awesome, fantastic. So again, if anybody asks you, please urge patience, and in the end, they'll have nice new blacktop roads and nice neat shoulders again. So I want to express my concern for what continues to happen in our parks with vandalism and theft. probably be huddling soon with you, David, about, what we can do to combat that. And it's not just parks. People all over the county are having things snatched, especially in the more rural areas. It's a hard problem to get your arms around. But when it happens to our parks, which are the collective property of all the citizens in the county, it's especially frustrating. So we continue, I think, to have to not only expand our parks and make them even more accessible and fun for our citizens, but also protect them in some way. And I think that's going to be an ongoing debate, a question anyway, of how we do that effectively and within our budget. So again, I'll be huddling with the sheriff and see if there's, and our Parks Director, Teresa Childers, who does a great job putting out information about instances and trying to ask the public to help, but sometimes there's no witnesses and no real leads, but we'll work on it. At this time, I'd like to call Charlie Ransom up to the microphone, please, and if you can bring your guest, Charlie. We've had an opening in the maintenance department. It's a part-time opening, and with the court's permission, I'd like to fill that with the young lady before us. And Charlie, if you would introduce her.
This is J.C. Davis, and she's going to be our 3 to 7 person, monitoring areas that secured, stuff like that, sheriff's office, county attorney, and unlock doors and try to make sure everything gets run smooth. And we're interviewing a gentleman to take my place, and then we've got Frank in here. So,
well, you've jumped the gun on me a little bit. So JC, welcome. JC is a recent graduate of Henderson County High School and is eager to help us. Again, we have this 3 to 7 kind of time frame to make sure that everything in the courthouse gets locked down properly, watch the cleaning crews, and also across the street, and that's been open for a bit. And so I'd like to get a motion from the court, allow us to hire JC at $12.50 an hour, which is typical pay for that, and bring her on board as soon as possible.
I move to hire.
Okay, thanks. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions about that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, thank you, JC. Now to Mr. Ransom. Charlie has announced his retirement, and he took all things in consideration and decided to retire as of tomorrow, which was a tough blow because Charlie's done a great job here, wonderful job, and he's been great to work with. I appreciate you, Charlie. Not an easy job. Pulled that from 18 different directions. You know, he also oversees what happens across the street, and that can be a tough crowd to please sometimes. But Charlie's been up for the task, and also managing our part-timers in ways that make it most effective. So Charlie, we're going to miss you. We are right now in the process of trying to hire Charlie's replacement. And again, with Charlie leaving tomorrow, it put a little bit of extra effort in getting this done, and we have interviewed a good candidate. I'd like the court's permission to go ahead and replace Charlie, full-time position, at a pay range between $36,000 and $40,000 a year, which is, before you asked for your voluntary reduction in pay, was about your price range, and bring that person on board as quickly as possible.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions about that? Pray for me. We need to get this done. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Charlie, I just want to say something. This is the second time, we've been through this. Charlie and I go back a long way.
yeah. Long way.
Said bye once and saying bye again. We're going to miss you, man, really.
Yeah. Well,
Really are.
I'm giving them my phone number, and try to coach them over the phone a little bit if they need anything.
Yeah.
I'm 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
Are they going to have access to all your records?
Yeah, everything's lined up, everything's documented, and I've given pictures to Paula of everything. They won't have trouble finding anything.
I understand. If you don't know Charlie, Charlie keeps everything organized. It's
Oh, yeah.
He knows.
Oh, yeah.
And Charlie has been gracious enough to be willing to, be a phone call away for the new person, and maybe on occasion come down and walk somebody through something, and I offered to pay him for any of that time. But I think it's worthwhile because that job entails a lot, and it'll take some time for the new person to really get their arms around it. But I appreciate you, Charlie, and I tell you what,
Thank you.
I'd like everybody to stand and give a great county employee a round of applause.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for all your notes too, Charlie.
All right. Well, I haven't had time to leave any.
I'll turn it over to you if you'd like to say anything else.
I'm good, Judge. I'm good. It's been great. Total of 15 years, 4 down at the jail. It was exciting, and 11 up here, but I'm done.
Enjoy it.
You're going to be missed.
Enjoyed every second.
You
Thank
will
you,
be
Charlie.
missed.
And with that, it's been a good meeting. A lot of stuff has been accomplished, and I appreciate all the hard work again on the ordinance review. Getting through that pretty smoothly. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave. Lunchtime, Henry.